Quiet time in the cockpit. Here's a new angle on stress and fatigue management for pilots and air traffic controllers. The aviation domain is becoming increasingly stressful and complex, just like the rest of the world, and we absolutely need ways to manage stress and pressure and become more effective at the immense number of tasks that pilots and air traffic controllers are routinely expected to perform. Now, there's tons of ways to unwind and manage stress, and I'm not going to run them all past you here. I mean, like fishing and like meditation, but look at this. There's something you need to consider. There's something with an amazing evidence base. So you pilots and you air traffic controllers, it's a big world out there, and if you're going to keep up, you're going to have to consider learning some new tricks. So look at this, for example. Transcendental meditation is known to reduce stress and fatigue. That would be a bonus. To improve hand-eye coordination, well, obviously that is useful. To improve concentration, to improve grade point averages, to improve field independence, whatever that might be. Actually, field independence is the ability to concentrate on a instrument presentation or a head-up display without being disturbed by extraneous variables, other things in your face. Like an emergency, you need to be able to focus on one thing at a time. Many other variables which I want to unpack for you in a little slide presentation for you here. My own flight test scores improved hugely when I was flying Impalas. It's a little Mackie MB326M jet for the South African Air Force. So here's the first little research finding that you might find interesting. This study showed the blood chemistry of meditators improved during the practice of transcendental meditation. What we're looking at here is a control group who obviously did nothing, and a transcendental meditation group, and what we're looking at is the change in plasma cortisol. Plasma cortisol is a byproduct of stress, as it says here, chemical associated with stress, and this translates into greater energy levels. Every person I've ever taught TM, which is it's over 2,400 now, reports within the first couple of days increases in energy. So this is very significant for pilots, especially on long haul. And another angle is there's no published research on TM and jet lag, but the experience of most meditators is that jet lag is really reduced if you practice TM on the flight and you've been a long-term meditator. Another research finding showing very deep rest. Now, a meta-analysis is a study of studies, basically, and this meta-analysis found that transcendental meditation arguably produces a deeper state of rest than just resting with the eyes closed. In fact, it's very often thought to be deeper than sleep. And not only that, but the descent into the restful phase is about 40 times deeper than sleep. Now, this study measured deep rest by measuring breath rate and skin conductance, which is the opposite of skin resistance. This is lie detector tests. If you're stressed, your skin conducts more. And reduced plasma lactate. So breath rate goes down during TM. Skin conductance goes down. So stress means sweaty hands, and the opposite of stress during the practice of transcendental meditation means dry hands. So that's a lower skin conductance. And then plasma lactate. This is an interesting one because it reflects back on the previous slide I showed you. Plasma cortisol is a stress chemical, and plasma lactate is a chemical associated with fatigue. So this chart basically combines many charts together, and a great thing about TM is that it could actually be practiced. It can be done in the cockpit sitting comfortably with the eyes closed. It could be practiced in the cockpit simply sitting comfortably with the eyes closed. So in other words, the pilot not flying could be taking very deep rest, and the interesting thing is that he or she could be available almost instantly if an unusual situation were to crop up. So the other interesting thing about transcendental meditation is coming out of the practice. The one is more alert after TM than after having a cat nap. Everybody knows about power naps and so forth like that, but research actually shows that power napping, there is it takes time to actually come out of it. So that's an interesting thing. So here's another presentation on increased energy. In this study, individuals were randomly, in science, random assignment to a control in a test group is a very significant thing. And what we see here is people scoring their energy before meditation and after transcendental meditation training, compared with a matched control group, people with the same sorts of energy levels to start with, and after the same amount of time went by as during the TM course, the post controls had reported less energy than the TM meditators. So obviously energy level is critically important to professional pilots. And greater energy will translate into better task performance, like better pre-flight procedures, more attention to detail, less errors, better ability to respond to an engine failure or an in-flight emergency or something unusual, even just coping with the irritations of getting going on a long trip and the inevitable delays and paymasters issues, load masters issues and stuff like that, paperwork, loading procedures. Transcendental meditation should actually be put into any flight safety program, in my view. Another important thing about transcendental meditation is faster reaction time. This particular study was done on university students. University students are no different than pilots. They showed a significant improvement in the ability to make correct decisions, in contrast to a control group of students. The other interesting thing is these students showed an improvement in intelligence test scores, which of course would be very useful for pilots and air traffic controllers. So transcendental meditation had a better reaction time, shorter reaction time than the controls. Many air forces have used TM. I believe the Israeli Air Force has also done this. And I've already mentioned the point about this chart not showing reaction time actually slows down slightly after a cat nap. Clearly TM is different than deep sleep. So TM should be put into any fatigue management system. So there we have a pilot. And now, one of the things I wanted to handle a little bit was why the benefits of TM seem to be so wide-ranging. Now, you know what an EEG, an electroencephalogram, and there's a thing called brain coherence. Let me read you through this. University students who learnt the transcendental meditation technique improved over a 10-week period on a brain integration scale. So the TM people improved their scores, the controls actually reduced it. I guess this was done on students so they were getting tired into the academic year. So the scale measures quality of brain function while the performance of students are doing particular tasks. Now, one of the components of brain integration is brain coherence. Brain coherence is basically like brain waves marching in step. Here, my little pointer at the bottom. Set of brain waves from the left side of the brain and from the right-hand side of the brain doing exactly the same thing. You have high brain wave coherence. Now, the interesting thing about this brain integration scale is that a Norwegian study found that higher scores in the scale are found in top-level managers and sportsmen. Now, the interesting thing about this is that TM develops brain integration directly, and this brain integration translates into all kinds of fantastic things that you can measure about the brain. So EEG coherence is one component of the brain, and this research demonstrates very high correlations between EEG coherence and very desirable outcomes like concept learning, that's just big words for faster learning of ideas, growth in IQ, improved emotional stability, useful, creativity, and so forth. These are all very desirable attributes of effective, safe professional pilots and air traffic controllers. So I urge you to have a good look at this stuff. Go and do your Googling, do your research, do what works for you, but I could highly recommend this technique. And all I need to say now is safe, happy flying.